Oh, welcome back, my beautiful outcasts, my radiant sparks born from chaos. Look around. Do you feel it? The stares, the whispers, the silence that isn't really silence, it's pressure. The kind of pressure that bends most people until they crack, but not you. You walked into the storm, and the storm blinked first. That's why the world can't look away right now. They're addicted to your rise. They're terrified by it, fascinated by it, hypnotized by it. Because it wasn't supposed to happen, was it? You weren't supposed to make it this far. You weren't supposed to survive the weight, the doubt, the betrayal. They wrote you off in small rooms, laughed at you behind closed doors, treated you like background noise. And yet, here you are. Understand this, the world doesn't obsess over ordinary. The spotlight never chases the forgettable. But you dragged yourself through the kind of darkness that eats people alive. And you didn't just survive, you rewrote the script. You didn't wait for permission. You didn't beg for validation. You didn't fold under their ridicule. You forced your name into the conversation, carved your mark into stone, with nothing but your grit, your scars, and that unshakable silence that spoke louder than all their noise. Now every eye is locked on you, not out of choice, but out of necessity. You're proof that their rules are fragile, that their predictions are worthless, that their system can be broken, and nothing terrifies the powerful more than someone they can't control, can't dismiss, can't stop. That's you. That's why the world stares, not because they want to, but because they have to. Think back. How many nights did you sit alone, chewing on the taste of failure they served you? How many times did they tell you this is as far as you go? This is who you are. This is all you'll ever be. They thought those words would stick like chains. They thought you'd swallow them, carry them, let them rot inside your chest until you gave up. But chains don't always bind. They sharpen. Every insult, every dismissal, every laugh they threw your way, it was weight training. And while they thought they were burying you, you were teaching yourself how to breathe underground. That's why your rise stings them so much now, because it wasn't handed to you. It was stolen from the jaws of hopelessness. You built yourself out of scraps, forged discipline out of loneliness, carved clarity out of silence. And when the lights finally hit you, when the doors they swore were locked fell wide open, you didn't stumble out like a beggar. You stormed in like you owned the place. That's the difference. That's what they can't forgive. See, the world loves underdogs until the underdog bites back. Then suddenly you're not inspiring anymore. You're threatening. They clap when you're crawling. They cheer when you're harmless. But the second you stand up, the second you look them in the eyes without flinching, they start to panic. That panic you're seeing now, the headlines, the whispers, the endless speculation, that's the sound of fear dressed up as curiosity. They don't just want to watch you anymore. They have to, because deep down, they know they can't look away from someone who turned their doubt into domination. And that, my friend, is why your rise rewrote the game. Because it wasn't luck, it wasn't timing, it was a battle of will, and you won. You want to know why they can't stop watching you? Why even your enemies keep your name in their mouth? It's because you represent something they don't have the guts to face. The reflection of who they could be if they stopped making excuses. That's the real fear. It's not your strength. It's not your success. It's the reminder. Every move you make reminds them of the choices they never made, the battles they never fought, the discipline they never had. Behind closed doors, they talk. Oh, trust me, they talk. They whisper like priests around a sacred fire, asking how the hell you pulled it off. They'll never admit it out loud, but you haunt them. Not because you're loud, not because you beg for attention, but because you don't need to. You walk into a room and the air bends. You don't even have to open your mouth. The silence you carry is heavier than their noise. That's why they stare. That's why they gossip. Because deep down, they know they're in the presence of someone who rose from the setbacks they tried to bury you under. And nothing terrifies people more than the ghost of their own failure standing tall, breathing, winning, refusing to break. Here's the irony. They hate you, but they can't live without you. They need someone to measure themselves against. They need a legend to curse, a standard to resent, a fire to circle around while they whisper excuses. Without you, they're just shadows. With you, they're at least spectators in history. And maybe that's the real victory. Not the trophies, not the headlines, but the fact that even your silence has gravity. Even your existence has become a mirror, so sharp it cuts them open every time they glance your way. That's power. That's what it means when the world can't look away. Not too long ago they laughed when you spoke. Every idea you dropped fell flat, bounced off deaf ears, dismissed before it had the chance to breathe. You'd walk into a room and the air didn't even shift. They barely noticed. You were background noise in a world addicted to louder voices, faker smiles, cheaper promises, and every time they brushed you off, you carried that sting home with you. Sat in silence, wondering if maybe they were right. But here's the thing about silence. It isn't empty. It's a forge. Every quiet night you endured was heat shaping steel. Every ignored word was a hammer strike, and slowly, piece by piece, you stopped being background. You became something else, something they couldn't categorize. Fast forward to now. You step in, and everything halts. Conversations demit sentence. Eyes shift, hearts stutter, because the same presence they once mocked now feels untouchable. The same name they dismissed now carries weight. It's not that you yell louder now, it's that you don't need to. You're proof, breathing, undeniable proof that their laughter was just noise and your silence was the storm. Gathering behind it, think about how it flips their stomachs when they see you now. The same people who once patted your shoulder with fake pity now lower their eyes. The same ones who doubted your fire now feel its heat without you, even looking their way. That's why they can't look away anymore. You're the mark they left on themselves by underestimating you. And marks don't vanish, they remain. So now the game is different. You don't walk into rooms begging for space. The room rearranges itself around you. What you don't see, but what they feel, is the way your rise has rewired their thinking. You've invaded their psychology. You're not just living rent-free in their heads. You own the whole damn building. Every move they make now, they measure it against you. Every step they take, they wonder if you're already 3 steps ahead. You've turned into their invisible shadow, the one they can't shake, no matter how bright the lights are. See, people don't admit this out loud. They'll never say, "We study you." But trust me, they do. They analyze your silence like it's a code. They overthink your pauses like they're hidden messages. They replay your decisions in their heads as if maybe, just maybe, they'll decode the blueprint. Because that's what terrifies them most. Not what you've done, but what you might do next. That's the beauty of psychological warfare. You don't have to fight every battle. Your presence becomes the battlefield. They waste their energy plotting against ghosts of you, tripping over the possibility of what you could unleash. And in the process, they cage themselves. You've turned the tables. You don't chase validation anymore. They chase explanation. They huddle in groups, whispering your name like it's a threat, a rumor, a prophecy. And every time they try to box you in, you slip out like smoke, reminding them you can't cage fire. That's why the secret agency jokes hit so hard in the crowd. Because truthfully, you've become something else entirely. Not just a player in the game, the variable, the unknown factor no one can predict, no one can fully understand. And unpredictability is the sharpest weapon of all. You're not playing the game anymore. You're rewriting it, and they're stuck scrambling to catch up to rules you haven't even revealed yet. Imagine this, a room full of people, powerful people, the kind who once ignored you, once laughed at you, once treated you like background furniture. The air is loud, voices overlapping, laughter bouncing, drinks clinking. Until you walk in, you don't say a word, you don't announce yourself, you just exist in the doorway. And that's all it takes. Conversations stumble, then die. Laughter curdles in their throats. Eyes flick one by one, like dominoes falling toward you. Suddenly the whole room feels heavier, like gravity itself leaned closer to listen. You take one step, then another, slow, controlled, and it feels like thunder, rolling under the floorboards. You're not stomping, you're not rushing, you're simply present. Yet that presence eats the space alive. And here's the thing, you don't even look at them. You don't need to, because the silence you carry tells the story louder than your tongue ever could. They hear it, they feel it, the weight of every night you spent in the dark while they mocked you. the echo of every doubt they threw like stones while you built walls from the rubble. One of them fidgets with his glass. Another clears her throat too loudly. Someone coughs just to fill the void. They're scrambling to mask the unease. Your very existence drags out of them. And that unease, that's fear dressed in suits. Respect disguised as confusion. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to brag. The room already knows. They see the scar in your silence. They feel the storm in your calm. And whether they admit it or not, they understand. The game has shifted. The hierarchy isn't what it was, because the one they once dismissed as nothing is now the axis everything spins on. And you just stand there, smiling, watching, letting the silence do the work. You ever notice how villains in stories are never born with crowns? They're forged in the shadows, dismissed, mocked, underestimated. That's what they don't teach you. Being overlooked is the greatest weapon life ever handed you. While they laughed at you, you studied them. While they ignored you, you dissected every weakness. While they thought you were harmless, you were loading every scar into your armory of strength. That's why you move the way you do now. With precision, with patience, with that unnerving calm that rattles even the boldest voices. You learned what they didn't. When no one expects you to win, you get to prepare in silence. You get to sharpen without eyes on you, plot without noise in your ear, build without sabotage in your way. And by the time they realize you're a threat, it's too late. The game is already over. Think about it. They thought ignoring you was killing you. But really it was perfect camouflage. They never saw you calculating, never saw you hardening, never saw the fire you buried under all that silence. You became the phantom in their blind spots, the ghost in their mirror. And ghosts don't fight fair. They don't announce their moves. They unsettle, they linger. They arrive when the world least expects it. That's what being underestimated did for you. It gave you invisibility. It gave you time. It gave you the patience of a predator and the hunger of someone who's been starved too long. And now every move you make feels inevitable, like history itself bent just to let you through. So when they call you villain, don't flinch. Wear it. Because villains aren't the weak ones. Villains are the ones who saw the truth, embraced it, and built empires from rejection. And you, my friend, are living proof. You're the lesson they'll whisper about. Never underestimate the quiet one. Here's the irony. At first, they called you reckless. Then they called you stubborn. Then they laughed. Then they doubted. Then they ignored. But now they study. Every move, every pause, every silence, archived like scripture. Because legends aren't born the moment they rise. Legends are written when the world realizes too. Late they should have paid attention sooner, and that's exactly where you stand now. You've crossed the invisible line. You're no longer just living your story. You've become the story. Something bigger than flesh, bigger than your own name. A caution to some, an inspiration to others, a myth in the making. Behind closed doors, the same voices that once ridiculed you are whispering with urgency. Watch them. Learn from them. Don't underestimate them again. That's what power looks like. It echoes in places you'll never see, in conversations you'll never hear. People you'll never meet are shaping their choices because of the path you carved. That's not just success. That's legacy in motion. And what makes it sharper, colder, heavier than anything else is this. You didn't beg for it. You didn't chase their recognition. You didn't scream for validation. You simply moved, step by step, in silence, in discipline, in fire, turned into strategy. And that's what makes it unforgettable. See, the world doesn't remember the noise. It remembers the ones who bent reality with their presence. It remembers the ones who etched strength into silence and turned doubt into fire. That's why history's already got your name etched into its spine. Not in pencil, not in chalk, in stone, in ink that doesn't fade. You're not just rewriting the rules anymore. You're rewriting memory itself. And one day, when they look back, your rise won't just be a story. It'll be a manual, a blueprint, proof that impossible is just a word for those too afraid to try. Here's the truth they don't want to admit. Even the ones who stand beside you, the so-called allies, the ones who clap in public and nod in private, they're careful now. You feel it, don't you? The way their voices drop an octave when they address you, the way their jokes don't land the same, the way their smiles tighten at the edges, respect and unease. They blur into one when someone like you walks into the room. It's not betrayal, not yet. It's survival. They know what you're capable of now. They've seen you rise from places most people never escape, carrying silence like a weapon and scars like armor. And when someone has nothing left to prove, they can't be steered. That's what even your friends sense. You can't be bribed, shamed, or cornered. You've already walked through the fire. You've already outlasted the storm. And a person who's endured all that and kept moving, that's someone no one wants to bet against. Think of it like this. Predators don't just unsettle prey. They unsettle the other predators too. Lions don't flinch at gazelles, but they notice the scarred wolf limping out of the forest with eyes that still gleam. Because they know what that means. Survival against odds that should have ended them. And survival like that, it changes you. That's the aura you carry now. It's not arrogance, not noise, not bravado. It's something quieter, heavier, a weight that bends everyone's spine when they stand too close. They don't always know what to call it. Power, presence, intensity, doesn't matter. The name doesn't change the effect. Because here's the secret. You don't need allies to respect you. You don't even need enemies to admit it. All you need is silence. And silence is what you've mastered. It's not what you say, it's what you don't. And that lack of explanation, that's what keeps them awake at night. You see, respect fades when it's demanded. Fear fades when it's forced. But the kind you carry, the blend of both, that lingers forever. The world doesn't turn the same way anymore. Not since you rose. You feel that shift, don't you? The air feels heavier. The silence feels thicker. Even time itself seems to hesitate around you, as if history is holding its breath, waiting to see what you'll do next. That's what real power does. It bends the story, rewrites the narrative, makes every move you take ripple far beyond the room you're in. And here's the thing, they're not just watching you anymore. They're orbiting you. Every decision they make now, every word they whisper, every path they take, it circles around the thought of you. You became the axis without asking, the gravitational pull they can't escape. They don't admit it out loud, of course. Pride keeps them silent, but deep down, they know the truth. The game didn't just shift, it reset, and your fingerprints are all over the restart button. Look at their reactions. The doubters don't laugh as freely. The critics don't type as loudly. Even the ones who swore you'd never make it, they pause now before they speak your name. That pause, that hesitation, is your victory. It's the proof that you don't need to scream to dominate. You just exist, and the room rearranges itself around you. But here's where it gets sharper. When the world realizes it can't ignore you, it has two choices: lift you up or try to break you down. And right now, they're torn. Half of them want to put you on a pedestal. The other half want to stop you before you grow any taller. That's how icons are born. Not from applause alone, but from resistance, envy, obsession. You've become the paradox they can't resolve. Too respected to dismiss, too unshakable to erase. And you don't chase either. Not the pedestal, not the fall. You just keep moving, keep building, keep turning silence into storm. Because the truth is, you're not here to be liked, or hated, or even remembered. You're here to change the entire script. And whether they admit it or not, everyone knows. You already did. Here's the cruel beauty of your rise. It doesn't just inspire, it exposes, because every step you take upward shines a light on the ones who stayed crawling. Every victory you carve out of your scars forces, them to see their own excuses for what they are: empty, fragile, useless. Your growth isn't just proof of your strength. It's proof of their weakness. And nothing in this world burns the insecure more than seeing someone they doubted climb past the ceiling they built for themselves. Look at them. Some will try to clap, pretend they supported you all along. Others will stay quiet, choke on their jealousy, and hope you don't notice. But you notice. Oh, you notice the silence louder than the cheers, because silence is where the truth hides. And in that silence, you hear their regret, their fear, their whispers of, "Why not me?" But deep down, they know why. They didn't bleed when you did. They didn't fight when you did. They didn't choose discipline when you did. That's the difference. That's the separation. That's the gulf they can't cross anymore. And the craziest part, you never set out to expose them. You never tried to humiliate anyone. You were just busy surviving, building, turning every bruise into blueprint. But that's what makes it sting worse. You weren't even trying to make them feel small, yet your rise makes their comfort look like cowardice. Your hunger makes their laziness look criminal. Your silence makes their noise look desperate. This is why they can't stop watching you. Because watching you is watching the reflection of everything they could have been if they hadn't chosen the easy road. And that's why your story will haunt them. Not because you beat them, but because you showed them they were never even in the fight. So now when you walk in the room, they don't just see you, they see themselves, and it terrifies them. And that's your real power, not just rising, but making the whole damn world see what it refuses to face. And so here we are, the final act, the point where your story stops being a personal climb and starts becoming a legend etched into the world's memory. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about you winning. This is about history itself, bending to acknowledge you. Whole generations will look back at this moment and whisper. That's where everything shifted. Your name won't just be spoken. It'll be studied, analyzed, feared, and admired. See, ordinary lives end in silence, forgotten, buried under dust and routine. But not yours. Yours exploded into something immortal. You walked through fire without a sound, turned betrayal into fuel, turned scars into scripture, and now you stand untouchable, undeniable, unforgettable. Behind closed doors, in boardrooms, in back rooms, in whispers, they don't just talk about you. They calculate around you. They plan with your shadow in mind. You've become the variable no one can control. And here's the wildest part. It was never about applause. You didn't climb for clout. You didn't rise for recognition. You rose because you had no other choice, because survival demanded evolution, because pain demanded transformation. And now your evolution has forced the world itself to evolve around you. So let them stare, let them whisper, let them choke on the shock of it all, because your story isn't ending, it's only beginning. And every step forward from here will be a reminder that they were alive during the era when you rose, when you rewrote the game, when you carved your name into eternity. History doesn't just remember kings. It remembers forces, storms, revolutions, and you. You are all three. You are the warning, the inspiration, and the legend. Forever.